Balaram Jayanti ki, Shri Balaram ki, Go Premanande. Today is Purnima, it's full moon day, and it's 8 days before Krishna Janmashtami. Krishna was born on Ashtami, the 8th day of the lunar cycle. A lunar cycle is 15 days, and a lunar cycle has a waxing and a waning aspect. So waxing is as the moon's getting bigger, and then the beginning of the waxing moon cycle is on a dark moon night, and the moon gets bigger for 15 days, and it's a crescent moon, and then a quarter moon, and a half moon, and then a gibbous moon, and then a full moon. You know, it's a little tiny segment. Those segments are called kalas. So one segment each day, and then after 15 days the moon is full, and on that day it's Purnima, full moon day. And if you go out on a clear day, on a full moon day, it's like, and you're in a non-light pollution place where there's no light pollution caused. You go out in the desert, hours, 3 hours from here in the desert, and you're standing in the middle of the desert on a full moon night. It's like it's daytime. You can see everything. We don't experience this because there's light pollution everywhere you go, but so in a dark moon night, it's just pitch black. You can't see anything. It's like ink. On a full moon night, you can see everything. So anyway, there's the Shukla and the Krishna Paksha, these two halves of the lunar cycle. And so when the moon is getting bigger, it's called Shukla, it's getting bigger, and that's the waxing moon. And then when it's getting smaller, it's called Krishna. Shukla and Krishna mean white and black. So Krishna Paksha, which is what we're about to start now, starts with a full moon, and then the moon gets smaller and smaller until it's gone, and then the moon gets bigger and bigger. So it's a waning moon, it's going down, and a waxing moon, it's going up. So we're on the Purnima before Janmashtami. Before Janmashtami. And so the moon will start getting smaller. And on the 8th day of it getting smaller, you have Krishna Janmashtami. And then 15 days later, it'll be another Ashtami, another 8th day of the waning cycle. This will be the growing cycle, the waxing cycle. And that day is Radhashtami. So Radha and Krishna were each born on an Ashtami, which is halfway through the cycle. The two of them combined together and became Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was born on Purnima. And so we're just at this 8 days before. I was thinking about this today. I wasn't thinking about class per se, but I was thinking about it. I was thinking about how to explain Balaram to somebody who just walked in the door in a way that's not cheap. So that was what was in my mind. I was thinking, how would I explain Balaram to someone who just for the first time walked in the door? But they were a philosopher with a graduate degree in philosophy. They were smart, but their brains in a way that didn't require any pre-existing conditioning and pre-existing bias towards believing what we teach, and what we call group think, where they were part of our tribe, and just we had the advantage of what's called plausibility structures, where people just tend to already accept what it is you're talking about. At the same time, I didn't want to explain Balaram in a way that was cheap or attenuated or crippled. So this was the two things I was thinking about. And I wasn't even thinking about giving class, I just was thinking about this. I'd like you to think about that. How would you explain Balaram to a brand new person who is a serious theologian, a serious philosopher? And if you choose to raise your hand, you can spend a minute or two outlining a skeleton. Don't give me a full class, because then there'll be nothing for me to do. Hey, Jordan. Good to see you, man. Don't give me a full class, because it'll take too long. But take 2 minutes and give me the skeleton of what you'd say. You got to talk about 8 times louder. I mean, because I can't even hear you, what to speak of them. So just look at them and talk to them.
Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He has multiple expansions.
Hold on. Can you hear him? Can you hear him? No. So they can't hear you. So qualification for answering my question, unfortunately, sorry, is that you have to speak loud. And if I have to ask you 3 times, you lose your chance. So we're 2 in. So.
Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He can expand unlimitedly. He has multiple expansions. Balaram is the first expansion of the Lord.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not bad. I think it's great. It's good. More? It's like a husband and wife duo? Let's see how many hands we got. I see you. I see you. How many other hands are there? Raise your hand, Madhu. Now, raise your hand. Okay, we got 2. Raise your hand, Vedavit. All right, we got 3. Glad to see you guys are participating. Who else wants to go? Okay, Shree's going to give it a shot. Who else? All right, we'll go with that. You're up too, Amrit. Okay, let's hear what you got, Nishkama.
Okay, so like before Jesus Christ came John the Baptist, right? Didn't he come first? Didn't John the Baptist?
You can't ask me questions. You have to just say what you're going to say. That's 1 strike. Asking me a question is a strike. Let's go.
So because saints do come before the Lord, like all apostles or John the Baptist, saints do come before the Lord. So this is why something came before the Lord.
Okay, good. Thank you. Of course, that contradicts what your husband said, because he said he's the first expansion, and you said he came before him, and then he said it was an expansion of God, and you said it was a saint. So you guys have almost I almost could not think of more of a contradiction in what the 2 of you said, but I don't necessarily disagree with what either one of you said, but I'm definitely vexed, and I'm questioning you guys, because I'm disturbed if I get 2 devotees and the first 2 devotees contradict each other really strong, almost like diametric opposition. Saint, God, came first, came after. I'm definitely really confused now. But that's okay. We're good. Okay, go.
Just as any important individual has an entourage, and you see in this world anyone who is worth something is surrounded by quality relationships, which are arguably the most important thing available in this world, because quality relationships facilitate love, and the experience of love is given through service. And so being that important individuals and personalities are surrounded by loving relationships and an entourage, Balaram in their philosophy is the first expansion of said entourage for the Supreme Personality when he manifests in this world in a way that enhances his experience during his passing.
Okay? Pretty good. We got God has expansions. Balaram's the first one. Balaram's a saint who appears before the Lord, like John the Baptist. John the Baptist actually did appear before Jesus, so you did good there. It was a good guess. Always difficult to guess, like the apostles or John the Baptist. So I'm definitely not thinking Balaram's an expansion anymore. And then you gave an analogy, an extended analogy. You got a little lost in it, but essentially, big people have an entourage, and so Balaram is part of Krishna's entourage. And that expands God's glory. All right. I mean, it's not bad. None of you are bad yet. Do you feel like you nailed it?
I'm happy.
You're happy with how you did? Okay. I'm like, I don't think it was bad. It wasn't a fail. I'm not like hip hip hurrah. Who else we got? Okay. Vedavit Prabhu. Okay, that was one. You have to speak louder. You've got two more left and then you're done, okay? Please don't make me do all three and then strike you out.
When God descends to earth, he comes along with his associates and expansions. So if God is called as Supreme Personality of Godhead, then Balaram is Servitor Personality of Godhead. We need somebody to approach God. So the person who gives that mercy is Balaram.
Okay, that was a different angle. There is Sevaka Bhagawan and Sevya Bhagawan. There's a Lord who is to be served, and then the Lord who does the serving. And so Balaram sets that example for us. That was a different angle. Good, super tight. Like Radha Krishna's, it was like a real tight, and certainly neither one of you made any mistakes. That was good. Interestingly, by the way, both Radha Krishna and Vedavit Prabhus, they spoke on tattva. They spoke some siddhanta, some philosophy. And what Nishkama did was she tried to explain a little bit of Leela, like the Lord appearing, Balaram appearing ahead of him. There was a little bit of a Leela flavor in what she said, less than what the two of you said. And you gave an analogy from this world and sort of springboarded off of it. All right, Shri, you're up.
First, I would argue for the existence of God, and then once we both agree on that, I would discuss what the nature of that God would be like, all good, all powerful, and then the implications of that would be that God would make himself available to us in this world, and one of the times that God made himself available in this world was at Balaram.
That was formidable. Balaram also exists in the spiritual world, so it's not just one of the times he made himself available in this world. However, I'm going to save commenting on what you said for a bit longer. Amrit, and so I'll come back to you in a minute. Amrit,
I would say Balaram is God himself manifested in the form of Guru to teach us how we can approach God.
that was like very similar to what Vedavit said, but in your own way expressed, very well expressed, clean, no mistakes. Also like Radha Krishna, you gave a little more information than Radha Krishna did, and what you said was very similar to what Vedavit said, but arguably it was even tighter. Right? Super good, right? Real clean. Good. Minimalist, but good. Rupanugaji, were you listening on the way over?
Yes, to what I was.
Okay, so you're going to be up in a minute. I'll just repeat it though to make it easy on you.
I only walked in because I wanted
I would like you to speak. Will you? Okay, all right. I don't want to displease you, so I'm going to speak, but my desire to hear you speak was sincere. Here's what I was thinking. And I'll give you the skeleton first, because I don't want to have to, it's not fair if I don't have to play by the same rules as everybody else. So I'll give you a skeleton, and then we'll fill in that skeleton. I want to make sure that you believe that God exists. I want to make sure that you believe in an all-good and all-powerful God. An all-good God would want to love. An all-powerful God would be capable of love. Therefore, an all-good and all-powerful God would be capable of loving. And that love wouldn't just exist between us and God, but that love would also exist in heaven. And that love would have, naturally, it would have certain flavors. And so when we think about the flavors of love that could exist between God and another, because love amazingly is something that exists between two people, love depends on there being enough of a backdrop of difference in order for love to unite you. Just like without a mother and a child, there is no love between them. Just like without the cloud and the water, there is no rain. Amazingly, love is a unifier that depends on a backdrop of difference in order for it to exist. Therefore, for love to exist eternally, there must be enough distance between God and others in order for that love to unite them. So God exists, God is all good, God is all powerful. We can start with those arguments, but once we agree on that, we can then think about the nature of an all good God. That nature would be to love. An all powerful God could love everywhere. And so we believe that God loves in heaven as well as in this world, and God loves others. One of the others God loves is us. One of the other others that God loves is He loves Himself in various avatars and expansions. Therefore, in heaven, God has unlimited forms that derive from the one source of all existence, Krishna, and the first one of those forms is Balaram. Now, when we start to think about the way you can love someone who is above you. You can love up. That love will be filled with awe and veneration. That love will be filled with some formal service, a sense of humility, and you'll be loving up. That love would be the classical conception of God that most religions, including our own, teaches. And that would be the love of Vishnu. You are small, Vishnu is great, Vishnu is the source of the cosmos, and so therefore you love Vishnu, and that love is filled with awe and veneration. However, there's another type of love that's possible, and that is intimate love. And that intimate love, in order for it to exist, naturally depends on equality. Because to love someone intimately, you can't think, I'm tiny and you're huge. Because that awe and veneration creates a certain formality, which is literally the opposite of intimacy. Intimacy is the void, is love void of veneration and power and formality. And so now we have two kinds of love. We have a formal love and an intimate love. Now within that intimate love, there's still different possibilities. You could love an older brother, an older sister, a parent, an elder, but intimately. They're a family member. You could love an equal. They're just the same as you. You could love downward. So you can love up, equal, or you can love down. Loving down means you're the parent and they're the child. And finally, you could love equal again, but that equalness has romance attached. And so in our conception of an all-good, all-powerful, loving deity, intimate love must be possible. And within that intimate love, there's still a structure, a natural structure. Loving up, loving same, loving down, or loving same, but with romance attached. Balaram is the personification of equal love. And therefore Balaram has existed as Krishna's counterform forever. Because the nature of God is to love, and God exists in eternity. And so within eternity, God exists in another form. And those two forms love each other equally. And Balaram is that. Of course, romantic love is personified by whom? Radharani, right? And then parental love, loving down, is personified by whom? Yashodananda, right? And then loving up is personified by whom? Right? Interesting, right? Who would that be? Uddhava was not really in Vrindavan though. So in Vrindavan, who would it be? It's interesting, right? Some of the various sadharan sakhas, some of the various ordinary cowherd boys who love Krishna as their kind of elder brother. There's 4 kinds of friends of Krishna. There's the Suhrit Sakhas, the ones who love Krishna as his elder brother. Those are headed by Balaram. There's the Sadharan Sakhas, and there's many of them also. Then there's the Priya Sakhas, who are very, very close to Krishna. That would be like Sridham and Sudam. And then you have the Priya Narma Sakhas, like Madhu Mangal. They are there in the kunjas with Radha and Krishna, carrying messages back and forth between Radha and Krishna. Priya means dear or beloved. Priya Narma means dear and beloved. Narma means pastimes, Leela. And so the Priya Narma Sakhas engage in the Leelas with Radha and Krishna. Balaram is Krishna's counterform, Krishna's first expansion. And Balaram thinks of Krishna as being his younger brother, and so he's protective. On Krishna's birthday, Balaram tells Mother Yashoda, don't let Krishna go out and play today. It's his birthday, and I want to bathe him. And so keep him home. Sometimes Balaram comes with Yashoda and bathes Krishna. Sometimes Balaram has dreams that Krishna is in danger, and he'll wake up and run out of his bed thinking, I have to protect Krishna. And so Balaram is a friend of Krishna's, but he also has this sentiment of being Krishna's elder. This happened in the Leela. Lakshman was younger than Ram and felt sad that Ram could order Lakshman around, and Lakshman wanted to just kill everybody and take over Ayodhya. He had no loyalty to his family. He was a ride or die brother to Ram, and his program was just that they should usurp the kingdom and just take it by force. Did not want Ram to go to the forest. But Ram said, I order you to go to the forest. I'm going to the forest. You can't stop me. And so Lakshman was Ramanuja. He's Ramanuja. He was the younger brother. He was born after. Anuja. Ja means born, Anu after. So Ramanuja was born after. But then Krishna Purvaja. Balaram is known as Krishna Purvaja. He was born before Krishna. And so Balaram, sometimes Krishna massages Balaram's feet. Sometimes Balaram rests his head on Krishna's lap. Sometimes Balaram wants to also offer his respects to Krishna. And so when Krishna comes to bow down before his older brother, Balaram's club will fall from his hand, like lower from his hand, and touch Krishna's feet. And Balaram's club is offering Krishna respect. So Balaram can't because he's the older brother. He smells Krishna's head and embraces Krishna. But then sometimes his club will reach down and touch Krishna's feet. So, anyway, to respond again, I would argue, just like you did, for the existence of God and an all-good, all-powerful God, and then the existence of a loving God. I wouldn't use the extended analogy you did. I would just say that God must be all-loving. If the person wanted to press me, we could go in whatever direction we had to win that argument. But I feel pretty confident just making the statement without a big, long, elaborate analogy, which I feel detracts away from the point you want to communicate. And then within that loving relationship, I would explain a formal and an intimate love. And then within that intimate love, I would explain that there's a natural structure. Loving up, loving down. And that these things, an all-powerful God could have such loving relationships, and all good God would want to. And how could you have such, I would say something like, and how could you think you could have these loving relationships, and then God would be devoid of them? And Balaram exists within that space, in heaven, as a counter form for Krishna, as a friend to Krishna, as another, as an other. We also exist as an other, but we're much further down the totem pole. We're micronic, we're atomic, we're anu. But Balaram and Krishna are vibhu. They're powerful and great. We are anu, we're tiny and atomic and micronic. But in some ways we're very much like Balaram because we also are an other form that Krishna can love, that can love Krishna back. Rupanugaji, you want to comment on what I said? I'm looking for more than that. Sincerely. I'm looking for a reaction to what I said. You didn't, jump in and speak your piece. You told me not to, but now you indulge me and speak something more. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Sakya Ras is most similar to Madhurya Ras. It may even be there in Rupa Goswami. It may even be there as well. But there's an intimacy that's not quite there in the parental relationship. Like Balaram has his own gopis and his own Ras Leela. And Balaram, when he's walking at Govardhan, if he sees yellow golden stones, he doesn't go there because he knows that Radharani has walked there, because everything Radharani touches becomes golden. And if Radharani is looking for Krishna and she sees white stones, crystals, and she knows Balaram's lotus feet have touched there, and she doesn't go there. And so Balaram and Radharani, there's some degree of separation. He's like a respected older brother, Bashur in Bengali. I don't know what, you must have the same, what's the term in Hindi? Huh? The elder brother. What does a woman call her elder brother? Jesh. Yeah. Pashur in Bengali, right? Radha Krishna? Yeah. And so there's a Pashur in Bengali, the same idea. So there's a certain amount of respect there. And so Balaram doesn't, it's funny, but you would assume Balaram would be the closest cowherd boy, right? But even Sridham is a Priya Sakha. He's a Priya Sakha. But he's not a Priya Narma Sakha. Because Sridham is the brother of Radharani. And therefore, Krishna cannot talk about his intimate pastimes with Radharani with Sridham. And so it falls to cowherd boys headed by Subal or Ujjwal or Madhumanga. They're the ones, or Arjun, they're the ones who are the Priyanarma Sakhas, a special group of cowherd boys that carries messages and participates considerably, like the Manjaris do. And so this, you love up, you love equal, so that's Dasya, equal, Sakya, down, Vatsalya, and then equal again, but with romance attached, Madhurya. But the cowherd boys, these Priyanarma Sakhas specifically, they participate on some level. Balaram doesn't participate. Sometimes they say Balaram participates in the form of Ananga Manjari. Janava Mata, Nityananda Prabhu's wife, is called Ananga Manjari. She's a Sakhi, and she gives entrance into Gopi Bhav, Manjari Bhav. And so sometimes they say that through her, then that is, Balaram gets the credit for that. And so then they make some connection between Balaram and Ananga Manjari, who is one of the Sakhis. She's called a Manjari, but she's actually a Sakhi, who would then have Manjaris who serve under her. Was that more in that direction for you? Obviously, I'm no longer talking to the new person. Now I'm talking to our crew. But I think that introduction makes sense. The idea of a loving deity. The idea of an intimately lovable deity. The idea of a structure to the relationships. And just see, our four chari bhav, our four bhavs, they match up. They become systematic. They become logical. They're reasonable. Krishna's peacock feather is reasonable. He dropped his crown. He picks up a beautiful rainbow off the forest floor in the form of a peacock feather and decorates himself with that. He takes some of the kajal, which is just a mineral available in the forest. He dresses himself with a vanamala. He's just a forest flower garland. It's not a big Vaijayanti mala, but just a simple vanamala. In this way, Krishna, as a cowherd boy, very unassuming, very intimately available, very non-godlike, very subversive, but still the Supreme Lord. There's a logic to it. It's not just arbitrary. It makes sense. It makes sense. Balaram, fraternal love for God, a love devoid of awe and veneration, and in that pure feeling of equality. It makes sense. You even find this in the Gita. When Krishna is explaining to Arjun, he says, Bhakta asi me sakha cheti, that I'll explain this to you. Rahasyam hyetad uttamam. You can understand this greatest secret because you are my devotee and my friend. And then I was just thinking, this, because I was thinking, is this in the Gita? And simply put, no, this is not in the Gita. These teachings go beyond the Gita. No doubt, these teachings go beyond the Gita. However, we at least get something in the Gita. Listen to this. Saketi matva prasabham yat uktam. I spoke to you having understood you. I spoke to you forcefully. Prasabham uktam. I spoke to you forcefully or impetuously. Why? Saketi matva. Because I thought of you as my friend. Arjuna is apologizing here. I thought of you as my friend, so I spoke to you forcefully. Hey Krishna, hey Yadav, hey Saketi. And I addressed you, oh Krishna, oh Yadav, oh friend. I addressed you like that. Like rudely, disrespectfully. Ajanata mahimanam tava idam. Not understanding your glories. Maya pramadhat pranayena vapi. Out of madness, out of love, I didn't understand your glories and I thought you were just my friend. Wild, right? Yet, Yachava sa artam asatkrito asi vihara shaya asana bojaneshu. And while relaxing, while sleeping on a bed, while reclining on a chair, while eating together, I joked with you. I dishonored you. Achyuta tat samaksham tat. And I, addressed you like as if you were just my friend, as if you were equal to me. Kshamaye tvam aham apramayam. I ask you to forgive me. Kshamaye aham tava apramayam. You are inexhaustible, you're immeasurable, you're the greatest. I beg your forgiveness. So what this is that Arjuna just saw the universal form and he says, I thought you were my friend. I thought you were my friend. And so then Saketi matva prasabham uktam. I spoke to you forcefully. Hey Krishna, hey Yadava, hey Sakha. And I spoke to you just casually. Called you, oh my friend. Oh Krishna, oh Yadava. Ajanata mahimam tavedam. I did not understand your glories. I didn't understand them. And so now, and we used to sleep together on the same bed. We used to eat together. Shaya bojaneshu, and while we were eating together. And asana, we were sitting together. And vihara, we were playing together. Kshamaye aham tava aprameyam. Oh, you immeasurable Lord, Achyuta, you please forgive me for thinking that I was sama, I was equal to you. This is a verse in the Gita speaking about the kind of love, pranay. Pranay is the word used here. Pranayeshu, in love with you, I spoke like this. Pramadat, maddened, in love with you, I spoke like this. And that pranay in Sanskrit is for a type of love where you feel a oneness with the person you love. You feel a oneness. Normally that type of love is within romantic love. But here we see it also within this fraternal love. This sense of oneness with the deity. You feel like, what's good for you is good for me. Sometimes the cowherd boys, they'll go out to eat with Krishna. This is not in any shastra. This was spoken by Srila Prabhupada in an intimate moment. Sometimes the cowherd boys will go out to eat with Krishna. They'll go out to herd cows. They all take their lunch boxes with them, their tiffins. And Krishna, being the son of the king of the cowherd village, they're Vaishyas, But within the Vaishya village, Nanda Maharaj is the chief Vaishya. And so he has more wealth, more cows, more yogurt, more milk. More milk. If you have more milk, you have more yogurt and butter and everything else. Sometimes when Balaram hears Krishna's name being chanted, because the devotees in the spiritual world also do kirtan, Yashoda sings songs about Krishna, and Balaram sometimes hears these songs about Krishna, his dhoti turns white. The holy name is so pure, it even turns Balaram's dhoti white. And the Yamuna River, which is so black, it also becomes white, and the gopis start churning the milk of the Yamuna River into butter. And so, I was talking about something else. I got distracted. What was I talking about? Pranaya. Yeah. Pranaya is this type of oneness you feel. There's different kinds of love. There's sneha, man, pranaya, rag, anurag, bhav, mahabhav. Sneha, man, pranaya, rag, anurag, bhav, mahabhav. And then within mahabhav is modanakya and madanakya, mahabhav. And so this pranay is a particular type of love where you feel you've become one with your lover. Normally we see it in romantic love, but this equality that one feels with their friend, this proximity. You're laying on the same bed with them, you're eating with them. So Krishna, Prabhupada one time told a story that Krishna, I can't believe you guys are so foolish, you couldn't remember this. But one time, Prabhupada, that you couldn't remind me, I had to remind them myself. One time Prabhupada told a story in a very intimate setting that the cowherd boys went out with Krishna, but Nanda Maharaj, he was the wealthiest of the cowherds. He had the most milk and the most cows. And so his tiffin would be filled with rasagula and jalebis and burfi and all sorts of things like that. Because puris. He was because he was the village chieftain's son. So they would make fancy stuff. Radharani comes every day and helps Yashoda cook for Krishna. And Yashoda secretly wants Radharani to marry Krishna. She secretly in her heart hopes this. And so he brings her every day because Radharani is the best cook. Because she was blessed by Durvasa Muni. Everything she cooked would taste like nectar. And so she comes every day to cook for Krishna. You find this in the Krishna Bhavanamrit by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is explained. But anyway, Krishna goes out with this beautiful tiffin filled with amazing stuff. But the other cowherd boys are not as wealthy. So they have like rice dal, chapati, sabji. And so when they go to eat, they all sit down together. It's like a Ras Leela. The cowherd boys, they also have their own Ras Leela type situation. They all sit down to eat when they're herding cows. In other words, this is our idea of heaven. That there's a place that you can go to where Krishna is your best friend. That possibility exists, to have this kind of love for Krishna. And if the flavor of your heart is that you love Krishna as a friend, as opposed to as a lover, as opposed to as a child, as opposed to as an elder, the natural schema of relationships that would have to exist logically, then you sit down with Krishna for lunch. The cows are eating grass. You found some nice field for them to eat. And you're eating. Krishna disappears around noontime and goes and has some jala keli at Radha Kund with the gopis. That happens. You don't see that. But then, and so that's because that's like a Ras Leela during noontime. Krishna gets a double Ras Leela. He gets an afternoon Ras Leela, which is the jala keli at Radha Kund, where they have water fights. And then he gets a nighttime Ras Leela. And when there's a dark moon, he wears black, so no one can see him, and when it's full moon night, he wears white. Radharani wears white, so they merge into the moonlight and the moonbeams, and no one can see them. They're invisible. They can run away and meet each other. And so the cowherd boys sit down, and they have this intimate exchange with Krishna, and he eats. And just like in the Ras Leela, every gopi thinks that Krishna's just dancing with her. Just like that, the cowherd boys each think, Krishna somehow chose, every day Krishna's choosing just to sit with me. I don't know why, but Krishna's just eating with me. And so Krishna's sitting in the midst of all the cowherd boys, but each one of them thinks Krishna's just facing him and eating with him. And then Krishna ends up sharing his lunchbox with them. And Krishna eats the rice and dal and chapatis of his friends, and they eat the nice prasad because their love is such, they feel like what is yours is mine. And so they take Krishna's prasad and eat it themselves. Because that's how thick their love is. That's the oneness that exists, the intimacy that exists. Almost like romance. So sweet, so intimate. It's just that extra element, that extra romantic element is what differentiates them. But other than that, they're so similar. Raghunath Das Goswami, Rati Manjari, prays to Sakya Bhav, offers prayers to it in Mana Shiksha, Vilapa Kushmanjali. In Vilapa Kushmanjali, he offers prayers to Sakya Bhav because it's such a high thing. Even the Manjari is respected. An all good, all powerful God would have to be able to love intimately. And that love would have a natural structure to it. And that love would also include this pure, equal love. And Balaram is the personification of that love. Not exactly, because he got the Suhrit element, so he also thinks that Krishna is his child. So he jumps in between a fraternal and a parental love. Those are very compatible. They're super sweet. So there's Vishramba Sakha, just pure love. There's also Gaurava Sakha, that there's a love where you have some respect. So they're like an elder to you. That's like the Sadharan Sakhas. They feel like Krishna is their elder. Some of them feel like this. And so you can love, they have all these different flavors, just like there's all different flavors of manjaris as well. They also have all their different camps. And so, some of the loves are compatible. Servitorship and friendship, fully compatible. Parental love and friendship, fully compatible. You follow? Parental love and romantic love, entirely incompatible. You follow? So much intimacy is there. Yashoda feeds Krishna from her breast. At any age, breast milk flows from Yashoda's breast whenever she sees Krishna. She's the personification of this parental love. But that parental love is ras abhas. You never see it mixing together with the conjugal love. But so close the Priyanarma Sakhas get to the conjugal love, carrying messages, visiting the kunjas, etc., etc. Any thoughts, final thoughts? So today is Balaram Purnima. In general, when we think of Balaram, we automatically think of Nityananda Prabhu. Balaram liked to drink honey. Sometimes they would give him honey. Sometimes Balaram his cowherd boys would fight with Krishna's cowherd boys. They would wrestle. And then the losers would have to carry the winners on their backs. And Balaram's team would, generally speaking, defeat Krishna. So they would have to carry, Krishna and his team would have to carry them on their back. And sometimes when Balaram's team defeated Krishna's team, they would say, Krishna's team, they would feel like their pride was smashed. So they would say stuff like, oh, if Balaram's team wins again, then like, who is weaker in Vrindavan than us? If we can't at least beat Balaram's team, then who is weaker than us? And then they would say to Balaram, they would say, hey, stop like this fighting with us because they're losing. They'd say, look, we'll bring you some honey. Balaram likes kadamba honey. Honey comes from flowers, so Balaram's favorite type of honey is kadamba honey. And they would bring him honey from the kadamba plant, from the kadamba flower. And he would drink honey and get kind of intoxicated on that honey. And he would look in the pot of honey and he would see his reflection and start saying, "Hey, who do you think, who are you? Who are you drinking my honey?" He wouldn't recognize it was his reflection. And he'd become angry at his reflection and start arguing with his reflection. All the cowherd boys would be laughing. And then he would break the pot like angry, but and he'd like throw the pot down and break, and then his perfection would disappear. And then he would just start laughing. And Krishna would start teasing him. What hero is there in their Vrindavan that could ever compare with you, Balaram? These are like snippets of Balaram's pastimes with Krishna. The cowherd boys' pastimes with Krishna. They're very sweet. They're very sweet. Worth relishing. Worth thinking about. So yeah, such an intimate love is available, and then within that intimate love there's a rasa tattva. There's rules. Which loves are compatible with which other ones. Sometimes people will have a combination love. They'll have a particular devotee they follow. Everyone is Krishna's servant. His parents are his servants. Servitude is for everyone. But then within those higher angas of love, there's some different compatibilities. And amazingly, friendship is very compatible with romance. Not entirely, but very close. Anything else? Yes.
I heard something on YouTube today. YouTube, which, so once I can confirm it with you or deny it, I heard that Sri Prabhupada said that when we chant the Maha Mantra, that when we're saying, Rama Rama, or that it's Balaram.
It just depends on who you are. If you're a devotee of Ramchandra, then when you said Ram, you would think of Ramchandra, the incarnation of Krishna as a king. If you are a devotee of Balaram, then you'll think of Balaram. When we say Ram, we generally don't think of Ram. Like somebody said, "Happy Balaram Purnima," and I just wrote back, "Jai Ram." And then I wrote back, "Ram Jai Ho," and it was like, easy. Like that's like when we hear Ram, we think Balaram, because we love Krishna. That's our Leela. That's the Leela we're attracted to, because that's the Leela where intimate love is available. None of the other pastimes have intimate love. Narasimha has no mother and father. Ram has a mother and father, but no elder brother. But in Krishna Leela, we have elder brothers. And gopis. There's no gopis in Ram Leela, just Sita. And Sita is more like Lakshmi. A little more improved, but not like Radharani. People see Ram, the Dandakaranya Munis. Some Munis saw Ram and thought, in heaven we want to be connected to you romantically. But they had to come back as gopis, because only Krishna can fulfill that desire for a romantic connection. Even Lakshmi Devi herself is in Dasya. She serves Krishna in Dasya. She's not in Madhurya. Madhurya is in Vrindavan. So for a gopi, Manjari, for someone who loves Krishna romantically, when they hear Ram, they'll think Radha Raman Ram. They'll think Krishna, who's the enjoyer of Radharani. The cowherd boys will hear Balaram. Followers of Ramchandra will hear that. Then those options are there. Most of our teachers for the last 5 centuries have said that it's Krishna, Radha Raman Ram, because that's the flavor of our devotion. Prabhupada said all 3 are possible. Ramchandra Balaram and Radha Raman Ram. And so I spoke following him. So he said that, but that was not the complete thing Prabhupada said. The complete thing was what I just told you. Anything else? Parshuram. Yeah, sure, you could say Parshuram. Parshuram is also Ram. He's Ram, Parshuram. He's Ram of the axe. We're not so into Parshuram. but like we have respect. We hear all the Leelas. They're there, but our heart goes to Krishna Leela. We focus on Krishna Leela. And we focus on Gaur Leela. And then that Balaram who gets drunk, who gets mad, he became Kripa Avatar. He became Nityananda, who also wore a blue dhoti, who also wore one earring. Balaram wears one earring. Nityananda also wore one earring, also wore a blue dhoti. Sometimes Nityananda would become blackish. Balaram's dhoti becomes white with Harinam, and when Nityananda Prabhu chants Krishna Nam, he becomes black. He's so like feeling Krishna Bhav. He came down, he brought all his cowherd boys, the Dwadas Gopals, the 12 cowherd boys. They became his prominent followers. They made a lineage. That lineage is 75-80% of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Of the 10 million Gaudiya Vaishnavas in the world, 75-80% of them come from Nityananda's line. He's Balaram, came into this world, maddened, not with honey, not drunk on honey, but drunk on the holy name. And he became Kripa Avatar. He became an incarnation of mercy. Balaram is the incarnation of fraternal love. Nityananda is an incarnation of mercy. He came into this world and he thought everyone was his friend. He embraced everyone. Did not see who was higher, did not see who was lower, gave the holy name to everyone. We are most attracted to that. Well, honestly, when I hear Ram, I think Nityananda Ram. More than Balaram. Our heart is with Nityananda. From Nityananda we get Vrindavan. From Nityananda we get Chaitanya. From Chaitanya we get Vrindavan. From Nityananda we get Vrindavan. They are our entry pass. Their love is our model. And you see on the altar, you see Nityananda. He's wearing his blue dhoti. And you can see he has a buffalo horn and a flute. Krishna has a flute, so does Nityananda. Nityananda's in the blue dhoti. He has a flute. He has a buffalo horn. And he looks particularly white today. Particularly like Balaram today. It's very clear. Balaram Hoilo Nitai. It's very clear that Balaram has become Nityananda. You can see the small Utsav Murti. You can see Nityananda is very clearly dancing. Practically throwing himself in the air. You can see. He looks different than he does on any other day. He's leaping in the air. And you see Baladev, you see his turban is falling forward on his head. You look, Jagannath is just sitting up, but Baladev is falling forward because he's drunk on honey and he's dancing. It's undeniable. You can see it on the altar. It's right there in front of you. Hare Krishna. Let's do kirtan. Thank you.